In today's video, we're going to chat through the future of the trading card hobby and why there's some trends that are happening within the hobby that probably should concern you if you're a collector, long term. Now, before we get into things, I just want to say, I've spoken about this plenty of times in the channel on the past. I'm not hating on these new, sneakerhead people that have entered the hobby or these kids coming in. Like, I'm all for this sort of stuff. There's just some trends happening that, I think are a little bit concerning. You might be saying, hey, Daniel, what do you mean by that? Well, like I said, I've spoken about this in the past, but Sports Card Radio did a video a couple of days ago regarding the National and what they saw out at the Whatnot booth. And give you some clarification. I'll do a pop on the screen now. But Whatnot had this live event at the National, and what they're doing is they're going around interviewing people and asking them, what it is that they like most about the hobby. And what was a bit confronting to see was that, 99% of the people they spoke to had very similar things to say. And it wasn't, collecting cards, chasing my favorite players, things like that. It was, oh, I love the hustle. I love the grind. I love making money. I love flipping cards. I like making bank. It was all those kinds of statements, right? And if you watch a lot of card show vlogs, you'll know that this is probably nothing new, right? And these kids are probably just speaking verbatim what they're saying. But you also watch these card show vlogs and you'll see kids in those videos say the same sort of thing, or these people having the same sort of viewpoint. And the reason why this concerns me, and like I said, it's not an issue. Like I think these people being in the hobby is a really cool thing, right? Because it's part of the reason why things have become so popular. The reason why this stuff is a little bit concerning for the long-term future and not just concerning, but also potential issue is that, these graders, these manufacturers have had a lot of issues of late, right? And when you've got these people that are primarily into collecting cards or buying cards just to make money, okay, they're not the end consumer really, because the person that's the end consumer is the person that's buying the card and they're putting it into their PC, as an example, okay? So when you've got a large chunk of these people not being the end consumer, you almost don't expect anything to change from these manufacturers because they don't really care about what it is that's in their hand, right? They're just there to make that quick bang for their buck, right? They're quickly there to flip the card to make some money. When I talk about these issues from these manufacturers, it's things like Panini, right? With their overprinting, with their poor quality control at the moment, where you've got so many issues with cards. You've got so much poor, like Prism right now, the centering on those cards is ridiculous. You've also got issues with, National Treasure now, where Panini's getting away with putting in non-player associated patches into cards. They're just random patches they're putting into cards, right? They're putting, incorrect player jerseys into RPAs. It's just ridiculous. You've got a plethora of sticker autos now. It's like all these things happening, all these parallels, all these print runs going crazy from Panini. And it's like, we as true collectors, why do we expect Panini to change when the general consumer, it looks like, is purely there to buy the card to then flip it to the next person to make some money? And then the person they're selling that card to is then looking to do the same thing, right? And I've spoken about this in the past where I spoke about watch dealing and watch collecting and things like that. And I spoke about how Roman Schaff is a really big watch dealer in the USA, or global watch dealer, I should say. And he talks about how some of the biggest issues within the watch collecting and watch dealing community right now is the fact that you had so many people enter that were buying watches purely to sell, and they weren't the end consumer. So what these dealers were doing, these new dealers that had that same mindset, they were just basically buying and selling between each other in this big circle jerk. And I've used that reference before when it comes to sports cards, and the end price was not being realized, right? So these prices were getting pushed really high because nothing was getting into the hands of the end consumer, the actual person that wants to wear the watch, or the person that wants to actually collect a card. And watches have a lot of parallels. The watch boom has got a lot of parallels to what's happened with trading cards, right? And the problem is, like I said, when you've got so many people entering and just doing that, why are they going to care if Panini keeps pushing the narrative with this kind of crap approach, right? Because from their perspective, they don't really care what the card looks like. Yes, rarer cards sell for more, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? They're purely there to sell. Whereas me as an individual, I'm not going to buy a box of National Treasure. I wouldn't buy one anyway because it's too expensive, right? But I'm not going to enter a break for one, because why do I want a card that expensive that doesn't have a player, or it doesn't have a player's jersey in it? Why do I want that? But these people don't care about that. They only care about selling the card, right? And the person they're selling the card to ignores that element as well, because they're in their mind looking to sell it to someone else for the same reason. It keeps going down the line, right? So, bump the mic there, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. It's like, why is this thing, like, why do we expect change? And if the big core group of these new collectors coming in have that mindset where they don't care, what's the manufacturing cards going to look like in 5-10 years? Like, why do we expect Fanatics to change? Yes, there should be some improvements, right? Because Panini's completely taken their piece. But why do we expect things to change? And if things don't change, what's the hobby going to look like in that time period? What does it mean for us as being true collectors? Are they just going to keep, pushing the boundaries of, trying to take more and more value away from us as collectors, whilst also charging us more money and giving us cards that aren't really worth anything? Like, what's that going to look like? And that, I'm really keen to get your thoughts on that down in the comments below. But the other unfortunate thing is, it's not just limited to these card manufacturers. It's not just limited to Panini. So Topps also have these kinds of issues. But then you've also got, these card graders where they're also doing the same sort of crap, right? Where they're still charging ridiculous prices. Their turnaround times are still ridiculous. Yes, things are improving, but they're having issues with their consistency of grading. They're having issues with like mislabeling cards. They're having issues with putting cards in upside down. They're having issues with sending cards to the wrong customers. All these things, again, what are they going to do to improve their process? Like, why do they have the incentive to improve their process if there's this huge customer base that doesn't actually care? And that concerns me about the future of the hobby long term. And like I said at the very start, at least I think I did, I'm not hating on these new people that have entered the hobby. I'm not hating on these kids. It's really exciting to see kids being so passionate and being so business savvy when it comes to this sort of stuff. Like, I wish I was doing those kinds of things when I was a kid, but I'm not hating on them. It's just, this is the new trend. So what is that new trend? What's that new trend going to look like long term? So please share your thoughts on that down in the comments below, because like I said, it's not just in that one interview with Whatnot at the National. Okay, Whatnot attract a certain mindset, right? So you could say, Daniel, well, that's why you got that one generalized view and that one biased mindset. But it's like, no, you watch card show vlogs, you're seeing the same sort of thing. You go to card shows yourself, you're seeing the same sort of thing. You go on social media, you're seeing the same sort of thing. It's like, what are these trends going to do long term? So if you have a thought on that, please share it down below, because it concerns me a little bit. Like I said, if the general consensus amongst these people is to purely buy the card and they don't actually care, when they're saying, you know, I'm in it to make money, I'm in it to flip, it's like, that was a bit sad to see, to be honest, because I would have expected the kids to say, like, I love collecting Mike Trout, as an example, or I love collecting LaMelo Ball, or I love collecting anything Celtics related. But no, they were saying, I'm in it to make money. It's just, it's really sad to see. So I know I might be just a grumpy old man hating on the new generation, which I don't think is the case, right? Like, I've given you those caveats and those points as to why, you know, I'm still happy for them to be here. I'm just scared about what the ramifications are going to be long term with this mindset being so prevalent within the hobby, and why these manufacturers and why these graders are very likely not to change, because a big chunk of their consumer base is now these people that don't really care about the card. They don't care about putting the card into their PC. They don't care about completing a set. They don't care about chasing every single, you know, LeBron James order that they can get their hands on. They're purely getting it because they want to sell it. Whereas, you know, the average person back in the day was like, okay, I'm going to buy this card, or I got this card in a break. Yes, I'll get it graded. If I ever need to make some money, I'll sell it. But if I don't, it just stays in my collection. I don't care. Whereas now you're not having people like that. So when you're seeing these issues with these manufacturers and seeing these issues with these graders, they don't really care, because they're just there to sell it to the next person. Like I said, who's there to then sell it to the next person again, who's there to then sell it to the next person again, and create this artificial market, this artificial giant circle jerk of crap. It's just a little bit concerning. So I know I've spoken circles there, so please check out Sports Card Radio's video. I'm not going to play the video here because I don't want to take their content. They're the only ones that I've seen really speak about it, so please check it out. They do some really, really cool content. Let me know your thoughts if you went to the National, you saw any of this firsthand, if you've been to any other card shows, you've also seen this sort of stuff firsthand, because like I said, it's a bit disappointing and a little bit concerning long term. So maybe you can let me know in the comments below if you think I'm overreacting, to be honest. I can see this going down a dark path where you've got, you know, these manufacturers, these graders still doing the same crap that they're doing now, or maybe taking more value away from us as, you know, buyers, as customers, and just doing it because most of the people that are facilitating this money within the hobby don't really care long term. So like I said, please share those thoughts down in the comments below. I really appreciate all your support. Please check out my video coming this Thursday. I'm going to talk through Baseball Card Exchange and why their service is practically a scam. I've spoken about this in the past, but I don't think it got enough traction. It's honestly a shit show, so you're going to enjoy that. So please keep an eye out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.